Hello boaters. I've been asked by a number of viewers, Justine and Susan and some others, about to make a video about how I make music, and I've always fully intended to do this, but to be honest it's a bit of a complicated subject and I've not really known quite how to go about it, but we'll give it a go. So basically currently my music falls into two types. Conventional stuff which I compose and record myself, which tends to be instrumental, and also recently I'm getting into the AI music. This is quite involved as well, and I'll try and explain that later. But I've never really had any training with music. I've no idea how to read music. I've got very little understanding of how it all works and the academic side. So I basically taught myself by ear. I play guitar a bit. I mean, considering the amount of time I've played, I'm not all that good, but I do enjoy it. I've also got a keyboard, which I don't sit down. I can't sit down and play a piece of music on it. That's just not how I operate. But I can usually manage to play little phrases into my recorder, and we build stuff up in layers. Again, I'll go into detail about that later. I guess I've only really got two skills with music, to be brutally honest. They're very, very simple. First one is that I know what I like when I hear it, and the second one is that I know what I don't like when I hear it. I'm quite discerning in that way, and I'm quite fussy about music that I listen to. Most of it out there I don't like, I've got not much time for. Certain types of music, and it's very, very rare that when I listen to it, it generates a really powerful emotional response. And that's the stuff that I crave, you know, but I find it so hard to find that sort of music. So that's probably why I got into trying to make music myself, to try and get a bit closer to being able to produce the sort of music that I like to listen to. It's simple as that. I'm getting, personally, on a personal sort of basis, I'm getting very close to that with the AI music. Again, we'll go into detail about how I make it a bit later on. This is why I find it so enjoyable. So, what little skill I do have is basically a matter of discerning what is good and what isn't, what works and what doesn't, and that's how basically I piece my music together. So let's start with the conventional music that I do, and I'll show you the kit that I use in a minute because it involves moving cameras and lights around, and it's not going to be that easy, but we'll get to that. Yeah, most of what I do is instrumental. I tend to start off with, well, it's a bit like the artist's blank canvas or the writer's empty page. With music, you've got empty time to fill, and getting started is the hardest bit of all, I find. So I just try and keep it simple because I don't have a great understanding of music. So what I will do is I'll start off with a little simple repetitive phrase. It might be a little sequence of notes that just repeats, and then I'll listen to that and then try to come up with something else, a different instrument and a different sort of phrase, whatever, which to go on top of that to blend with it. And again, I'll just mess around and see what happens. If I don't like it, I'll try something else. If I do like it, it will stay in. When I've got a couple of tracks, very, very short tracks usually, I'll try and find something else to add on to it. It is really just a very, very slow process. It does take a long time. Eventually, once I've got a collection of little phrases all layered on top of each other, all with like different instruments, it might sort of sound quite pleasant, but to me it's not actually music yet. And at some point in the process, if I'm lucky, I will add a little bit on top of what we've got so far, and suddenly it'll become a piece of music to me. It's a really odd feeling. It went from a collection of little phrases, and then suddenly it's like it's been born. It's like it's an entity, and it just becomes a living thing. And from that point onwards, the process of making music goes from raw construction to more of a nurturing phase. And then, because the music has already got its own personality, it's got some sort of style to it, anything that I put on top of that will reflect that, and will be sympathetic to what's gone before, so to speak. From this point onwards, it can get very, very enjoyable making music, but it's just getting to that point where the music takes on a life of its own. Unfortunately, these things do take a huge amount of time, which is why I've not really done much conventional music in recent years. I can't get on with spending weeks and weeks on working on it. One of my tracks, called Morpheus, is a good example, actually, because I remember sitting down one afternoon with no idea of what to do, and started messing around with a few little phrases like that, and it all started working quite well. And within about 2 or 3 hours, I reckon I'd got about 80% of that track recorded. But the final sort of 20% or so, that took weeks. Endless tweaking of the instruments, tweaking the levels, making a few little changes here and there, and the whole process takes such a long time. But at the same time, it's very, very enjoyable. Once you get to that stage, it's really lovely. But I just can't devote that much time to it these days, which is why the AI music is so much better, because I can get similar results. There's a boat going by, it might be a bit noisy. I can get similar results. I can get a finished track within, say, 4 hours, maybe 2 to 4 hours. But I still go through the same process. It's just a little bit different, but we'll explain that a bit later as well. Meanwhile, I'll show you my recording gear. Right, here's the stuff that I use. It's all fairly old school, really. Over here on the right, that's the microphone I use for my commentaries on the cruising videos. And yeah, this is the main gadget that my instrumental music is all produced on. This is the Yamaha QY100, and it's basically 3 machines in one box. It's a sound generator. It's got hundreds of preset sounds on it, of which you can vary them. It's also a MIDI controller, a recorder rather. So it'll record up to 16 different tracks of your music, and also it's a multi-effects unit, so you can put all the sounds through reverbs and delays or whatever like that. It makes them sound much more natural. And so most of the instrumental stuff that I've done, excluding the guitar stuff, is done entirely on here. This is the Zoom R8. It's a multi-track recorder. It's an 8-track, and I could produce music on that, but I tend not to. I mainly use it for powering the microphone, because the microphone requires 48 volts in order to work, and this machine provides that. So that's very handy. And then down here, of course, these keys, not very playable, so there's a harp on there. So I'm not really using this much other than to power the microphone, but I could record music on there if I wanted to. Yeah, this does most of what I work with, and at the moment we've got Morpheus loaded up into the memory. So normally when I start recording, I'll start with something simple like this, just repetitive. then it repeats. So it goes on like that. But then I'll start adding in other instruments. And at the same time I could ruin it by playing along. So this machine is playing all of this music that you're hearing all in one go. Think of it like a bit like a self-playing piano. It records all these sounds. And I build up tracks, just short phrases at a time, layering them up. Anyway, that's quite enough of that. I've got a number of songs on here. It's been so long since I've used this. This one's a new one. I haven't actually started on this one yet. But it's an idea. I may work on that. It's in its infancy at the moment, so it won't sound right. Just 2 or 3 tracks on this one so far. Anyway, and then we've got this one. You've heard this one already. But they're all made up in the same way. It's just small phrases all layered on top of each other, different instruments. It takes a lot of time and a lot of thought because some instruments just don't sound right. You know, that's one of the hardest bits about it really, is finding the right sound to fit with the music. Anyway, I think that'll do for this demonstration. What instruments we got on here? It's a dark bass. What else have we got? Strings. French horn by the sound of it. I like the choir sound. There's a train going by at the moment as well. We can't do anything about that. And then this one is muted. I don't. That's a bit of a synthesizer sound. Through different types of sound. Percussion. Nylon harp. And that's it. But that's the first 8 tracks, and then I've got another 8 tracks I could fill. So it's quite a, it's an old machine now. I mean, this is like early noughties, I think this was out, so it's very old now. It actually records onto an old smart media card. That's how old it is. That's how we save the programs. But it's really good. This is a bit better, a bit of a close-up view of the QI100. You can pick these up second-hand fairly cheaply, actually. There's also several other models they did as well, which weren't quite as advanced, but they're still very useful. You can make a lot of music, but you do need an external keyboard to make the best of it, really. It will actually run on batteries as well. And whilst I'm doing close-ups, this is the Zoom R8 multi-track recorder. This one's a little bit more recent. This one will record onto SD cards, which is actually a lot better. Well, I guess this is part 2. The first bit didn't go too badly. I'm going to talk now about the AI music that I do. Now, one big problem with AI is it's got a bit of an image problem. A lot of people are really excited about it. A lot of people really hate it and dismiss what it can do. As a musician or a photographer or someone who makes videos, if you use AI, you see it as a tool. You do not want the AI to do everything for you. You would want as much control as possible over the process and the output. So that's always a key priority. The big problem with AI generators, whether it's music, images or video, is they have basically what I would describe as an idiot mode. In other words, it'll generate something really quite wonderful with virtually no input from the person at all. You can give the most vaguest of suggestions and it will come up with something really quite decent. That devalues it, in my opinion. I'd rather work with it. Now, lots of boats going by, lots of boats and trains, there's nothing I can do about that. If I was, say, a rich and successful musician, I would have a good recording studio of my own. I'd also have plenty of money in which to hire in session musicians and singers and things, people who could do things that I couldn't, and we could work with them. That would be viable if there was sufficient market for what we produced, so you could recoup the costs and hopefully make a profit. That sort of option is only open to the big stars, the rich people. The thing is with AI is that it makes it available to everyone. It allows me to do music in styles which I normally wouldn't even be able to touch. The ability to add vocals as well is quite wonderful. I think it was about, probably more than 10 years ago now, on Mike Oldfield's Facebook page, he posted an article on there about an AI music generator, and he said, well, have a listen to this. Do I need to be worried about it? That sort of thing. So I had a look and I wasn't impressed at all. I mean, this was more than 10 years ago, I think, and the music it produced, well, you had virtually no control whatsoever, and it was incredibly bland. So, Mike Oldfield didn't need to worry about it then. But I knew that it would get good in time. There were some indications that, these things are going to soon there'll be wonderful things. Anyway, last year, round about end of March last year, 2024, I was looking through TikTok and a video came up mentioning the Udio music site, the AI site. And some of the examples it played on that video made me want to go and have a look. And well, I sat down, I logged in, sat down. You can use it for free. If you want the more advanced features, you have to pay for it. But you can use it for free. And I sat down and I typed a style into the prompt box. I typed in a few instruments which I'd like to have featured in it, and then I thought, well, what can I do lyric-wise? I thought, well, let's try and make a tune that I could use on my channel. So I can't remember the exact words what I wrote down, but it was something about narrowboat journeys and bushgoing midge and come cruising with us, that sort of thing like that. And hit generate, and when you hit the generate button, what it does is it will generate 2 recordings, and they're both 32 seconds long, and they're just short recordings, but it's a complete piece of it's a complete piece of music. It's all there, 30 seconds worth, and every time you hit generate, it'll make 2 more, and you may have to click that button several times before you get something you really like, but eventually it'll throw out something absolutely beautiful. And I was blown away by the female vocals. I mean, if you didn't know it was AI generated, you wouldn't know it was AI generated. It was that natural. She even takes a breath before she sings. It was so good. I thought, oh, I'm going to like this. And the music it was putting out felt really inspired. It wasn't none of this bland background music sort of stuff which we'd had 10 years earlier. This was real music. And I actually got quite emotional as I was playing around with that. And that went on to become my first song, Drifting. And what happens is, well, like I say, it generates a 30-second track. So normally I will start with verse 1. It's the most important bit to do. You want to get a good verse and a good chorus, and then you can build on that. So I type in the style and instruments and things like I want, and the feel of it as well. You can make it moody or mellow or whatever like that. You can type in the words that you want to use. Type in your lyrics, or it can generate lyrics for you. I tend not to use that. I like to write my own. And yeah, you hit generate, and it'll generate the first verse. And you may have to hit that button quite a few times before it does something. They'll all be musical, but keep going until you get something you really like. That's the important thing. When it throws out something that is absolutely lovely, then you extend it. So then you would add the chorus on. You type in your lyrics for the chorus, and then you go through the same process again. Hit the generate button, it'll create 2 more tracks. The finished ones will now be a minute long, because it will have your original 30-second track. Your verse 1 that'll be there unchanged, and then the new 30-second bit will be added onto it. So that's your chorus or whatever. And again, you keep doing that until you get something really lovely. And once you've got a really good verse and a really good chorus, when you do verse 2, it will build upon verse 1. It'll be very similar, but it won't be exactly the same. It doesn't cut and paste. It'll generate. The music will progress, and it'll get better as it goes on. Usually, I find that to get the very first verse, I might have to generate 50 different versions before I find one I'm really happy with. Same goes for the chorus, but after that, usually because we've already got a good verse, when it does verse 2, it'll look back at verse 1, and so what it gives you will be based on verse 1, so to speak. So it shouldn't be too wildly out. You may or may not like it, so you keep generating new ones until one does come up the way you like it, and so on. And that's how you go through the song. You keep adding 30-second sections. So a 3-minute song is going to take approximately six generations to complete. There's a bit more to it than that. On a good day, you can finish a song in a few hours. It does take time, though. You do really, if you accept the first thing it chucks out, it may not be so good. So you need to be discerning. Again, this is where my skills of knowing what I like and what I don't like, that comes into play here. It's really important. So I fairly recently did a song called Winter Cruising. So we use that as an example, and I put in the prompt. Here it is on the screen, and then I typed in the lyrics, and then you hit generate, and this is the first one that it put out. It's very musical, but I didn't really like it. So have a listen to that.
I cruising to the winter light, the icy wind begins to bite. The cream of summer fades away, for now the cold is here to stay. Anyway,
after about, I don't know, 20 or 30 attempts, I got verse 1, which I did like, and that's, you may recognise that. I've only actually played Winter Cruising once on a video, but I have played it before. But anyway, you may recognise the first verse, and here it is.
Cruise into the winter light, the icy wind begins to bite. The dream of summer fades away, for now the cold is here to stay.
And again, numerous attempts, but eventually it produced something really lovely.
Cold wind on the water, you better wrap nice and warm. There's miles to go on this winter day, I'm looking for a place to moor.
So she sang the chorus absolutely beautifully, and then the music went mad. Didn't like that bit at all. I really liked the chorus, but not the bit that came after it. The good news is with Udio is that you keep that first bit and you can crop off the bit that you don't like and extend it from the end of the good bit, so all is not lost. There's lots of other things you can do as well. Some of them do depend on you being a paid subscriber, which I'm not anymore. I can't afford it, but it's great fun, and it's changing all the time. You know, every few weeks or so there's a new feature or something's changed, and the quality just gets better and better. One other interesting thing about the AI is that you can type your lyrics into it, and it won't just sing them back to you beautifully, it actually understands the lyrics as well, and it can vary the music according to the lyrics. On that Winter Cruising song, there's a line where she sings "as cold as ice," and she sings that 4 times, and at the very end of the song, the last time she sings it, the AI has put in the sound of like a cold wind going in behind her words. It was really clever. I didn't tell it to do that, and I was just so impressed. Well, I don't know if I've covered everything. I probably haven't. Hopefully I've answered a few of your questions. You're welcome to ask me things in the comments if that would help. I'll try and answer them if I can. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.